Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, there's been a lot of activity lately, guys, coming out in the media. Lots of activity articles, documentaries, just throwing shade at veganism with misinformation. So many I can't cover them all, and I do want to cover that documentary, The Magic Pill, which is saying keto is great and all the diseases of modern society are blamed on eating plants, whole food plants. So anyway, that's going to come out soon. It's going to take a little bit of time to organize that response. But in the meantime, I found this little gem of an article on Provider.com. It's about how vegans and veganism is not cruelty-free, might as well just eat meat, and just full of fallacious reasoning and just bogus BS arguments that I've debunked many times before. This article begins by discussing reasons, major reasons why people go vegan, and one of them is because it's the cool thing to do. I didn't realize that not eating dead animals and not contributing to the leading cause of greenhouse gases is a cool thing to do. It's just a sensible, logical, and compassionate thing to do. But what really made me want to respond to the article was this dumb tweet that this article reposted by who knows who this person is. I doubt they're an expert in anything, but they're speaking so authoritatively, like they're speaking truth here. Repeat after me. Whoa, veganism is not affordable. Baloney, I'll call you on that. Veganism is not cruelty-free, which we'll get into, and veganism is not the best choice for everyone. Well, let's get into the affordable, because this is just a flat-out lie, just complete nonsense. Like, what's more affordable than the basics, the foundation of a plant-based diet? We're talking like rice. You can get a 20-pound sack for like $10. Potatoes, you can get a 20-pound sack for like $5. You can live off that alone for like a month. Try doing that on a meat diet. Ain't gonna happen, brah. And legumes, cheap. Bananas, cheap. You can get like a 40-pound box for under $20 at most supermarkets. So this is just flat out nonsense. Veganism is not just going to gourmet restaurants. Yeah, those exist, but you can go to non-gourmet vegan restaurants and you can cook those very non-gourmet foods at home. Secondly, that veganism is not cruelty-free. Well, that's what the rest of their article's about. We'll get into that. And lastly, veganism is not for everyone. Well, yeah, if you can't change your mind, if you're stuck in the ways that society has taught you that, yeah, you've been conditioned to eat dead animals, but it actually is for everyone. Considering that switching to a plant-based diet, getting rid of animal products from your diet, can prevent, treat, and even reverse 14 of the top 15 causes of death, I would say veganism is indeed for everyone. So the rest of this article tries to blame vegans for all the major problems inherent in modern food production, cruelty inherent problems. And what's really sad about this is, how do they make this argument? Do they talk to scientists or experts? No, they just post just regular old Joes and people's posts from Twitter. So this is just really irresponsible journalism to use these as your experts here. Like this person, I'm sure, is not an expert in South American politics or agriculture. People are literally starving in South America because all the quinoa crop is being exported mainly for white vegans who want to live cruelty-free but don't care about brown people as much as they do about animals. I mean, how is quinoa connected to veganism? Is there some fact that you know that I'm not aware of, that vegans are, as you claim, the primary eaters? White vegans are the primary eaters of quinoa. I mean, just case in point here, me and Angie, we're vegan and we pretty much never eat quinoa. In fact, of all the hundreds of vegans I know pretty well, I rarely ever see posts on their Instagram or YouTube with the 8-in-a-day videos with quinoa. It's just not a food that most vegans I know eat on the reg. I do know plenty of people who eat quinoa on the reg, and I see it online too, and it's from people who are afraid of wheat, and they're trying to find an alternative grain. They've read books like Wheat Belly and the like. It's carnivores. That's who's eating most of your quinoa. It's so easy to throw a stone at us vegans, but it's your kind. It's carnivores who are consuming the majority of quinoa. All right, the next non-expert tweet they use here to show how horrible veganism is: exploiting undocumented immigrants and other workers is cruelty-free. Nearly 500,000 children as young as 6 harvest 25% of U.S. crops. Well, let's, just for argument's sake, assume that your statistic there is correct. And I'll show you that veganism, again, is the right answer, the best answer if you want to minimize cruelty to people. Well, you're assuming here that vegans consume the vast majority of these plants, but we're only like, 4 or 5% of the US population. Meat eaters, unless you're like Dr. Sean Baker who eats only meat, you meat eaters are also eating plants too, and way more of them because there's so more of you guys. But it gets beyond what meat eaters are eating as far as plants. by far the vast majority of crops produced in the United States don't go to humans. It goes to livestock, feeding the animals that people kill so they can eat the animals. So if we just bypass that whole system I described there of feeding all these crops to animals and we just went vegan, there would be fewer crops that needed to be grown, and there'd be much less in the ways of these unethical agricultural practices in the world. And what's really the big problem with these vegan haters is that they have their own personal, customized definition of what veganism means. They believe it means if there's any cruelty involved whatsoever in production of food, then veganism is flawed, it just doesn't work. Well, that's not the definition of veganism. If you look at this very commonly accepted definition of veganism from the Vegan Society, they readily admit we seek to avoid as much as practically possible any forms of cruelty to animals, and I would add to that to farm workers as well. Basically, the common thread of this article and provider is the appeal to futility. Their argument goes basically because there's some inherent cruelty possibly to farm workers in the production of food, not only for vegans but for meat eaters and animals. Since there's cruelty there, you can't avoid all forms of cruelty. So basically veganism is wrong since you can't be 100% cruelty free. So therefore go out and slaughter billions of animals because, hey, you just cannot avoid cruelty. It's cool to kill animals for food. So I could keep going on responding to more of these non-professional silly tweets from the article, but I think you get the point. There's just no moral justification for killing animals needlessly because maybe a bug gets squashed by a tractor or there's some inherent unethical practices in the agricultural industries, which are not the fault of vegans. Again, the vast majority of those foods are going to meat eaters and the animals that they eat. So anyway, post your questions and comments down below. Have you seen arguments like this, these silly arguments that try to argue that veganism is impossible and therefore we have the right to kill any animal we want for food? So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, share this video, and until next time guys, it's keep it carb, baby, keep it carb.